has been able to make it work. He played exceptionally well in game number 1, just fell a little bit short.
Yeah, they should ban Kath here and just or Baptiste if they don't deal with the Captain Baptiste and they'd rather deal with the Captain Kath. But one of their bans should be a Baptiste or Kath. If they're not, they're going to go and stick to their normal draft, but it's going to be a Samuel. And that leaves Kath and Baptiste open right now. So I don't think SK will ban either, because a Baptiste pick with Grace, although strong, you can counter pick into it very well on the side, on A side here.
Yeah, one of the strongest things about that Baptiste pick is the fact that you can flex it when you've already locked in the Grace. Unless you wanted to take that to lane like Cavalifar does, then it's not that flexible anymore. You know that the Baptiste is going into that jungle role. So we'll see where they choose to go with this one. Taking a lot of time on this ban though. What are the other options for the SK right now?
I mean, there's a lot of options. You can go, Black Feather. You can try and take away the Baptiste. You can look for maybe even trying to shut down something like an Idris pick. Going with the Grace is a really smart one. So we'll see. It is going to be the Idris taken away, so that the Idris Grace combo does not come through from Dynasty, and Dynasty immediately just going to grab themselves up that Baptiste.
So now SK, will they pick Kath here potentially, or will they go with Lance Sky? Would be a really good composition of this, because Lance and Sky are good against this Grace combination that just wants to dive, wants to CC somebody and dive onto them. So I feel like if SK wants to win the draft here, they definitely need to pick Sky. But they might go for a Scarf, but normally I think Sky would be really great into Grace here, and along with like a Lance or Arden pick.
We'll see where they choose to go, what direction.
Ooh, they're going to go with Scarf. Man, I don't know about that, because against Baptiste, with the Fearsome Shake and cancel the ultimate and stuff like that, I don't know why like EU likes Scarf so much. Scarf does have has a role, but I feel like they're overly picking it.
It's definitely got a good win rate here in EU, so we'll see. Obviously, it's something that they've had success on in the past, but we'll see what they're going to pick up as the captain. They only have 8 seconds left to choose what Raph is going to be playing, and the Arden comes on through. Seen him play it a lot of times, and we've seen it comboed with the Scarf a lot of times. This is a pretty standard draft coming out from SK.
Yeah, this is comfort picks kind of all around. Cavalifar, while he's known for the melee laners, has been playing a lot of Vox this season, has kind of shaken things up a bit, and of course, we've already know about Raph on this Arden. He's incredible with this hero.
I think Pizza Part go with Glaive here, potentially. It's a lot of CC that you have 3 stuns, so this comp that would work really well into this composition. They're going to go with Ringo instead, which is interesting. So basically Ringo would need to build hopefully a 4-item build, just to get the Grace ult and just delete either Vox or Scarf here.
And we've actually seen Ringo a lot more frequently these past couple weeks, both in Vainglory and in Challengers especially. If you've been watching those matchups, a lot of Ringo's been starting to come out, especially against Vox. It's almost exclusively against Vox in the lane. You have a large range advantage, and then as you go into the late game, if you just get those 4 items, you can find some really interesting flanks to be able to take around the fight and get onto the backline. If Ringo can get onto Scarf, Scarf is just dead. Will be blown up in an instant. Ringo can get traded, but if you can just take out the Scarf right away, you can win the fights.
All right, we'll see whether they can take out this Scarf during this game. Obviously, SK 1-0 up. They're going to be looking to try and round this one out and move into the semi-finals, but Dynasty will not go down without a fight. We'll see whether they can fight well enough. Hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter to let us know whether you want this to go to 3 games or whether you want this to be a sweep in favor of SK. Let's pass it over to our casters and get on into this second game. It's SK against Dynasty.
SK Gaming versus Dynasty here in Game 2. Denominating. This is going to be an intense matchup here. SK want to close the door. Dynasty want to reverse this series around. What do you think is going to happen, man?
Based on just the draft, I do have to give the edge over to the side of SK, simply because the best way to beat a Baptiste is sheerly just to outrange him, and Scarf is absolutely amazing at that. Now, normally I would give the edge to PT Lamb on the Ringo into the Vox. However, with Wrath on Arden, one of his best heroes in my opinion, should be able to really help Cavalifar scale up in these fights, but it is going to be Dynasty Gaming making an aggressive rotation here, looking for some farm.
Dynasty's been doing this for weeks now, almost more than any other team. They rotate super hard as a unit early on, securing the mid. They're going to secure the Elder Treant as well. They should, unless Raph can steal this. Raph not able to pull the God Vanguard out there. And Dynasty secure themselves a nice little rotation. Well, it felt like they had secured a little rotation, but SK still moving forward. Raph, not gonna get the mid. Riku Meza grabs that, but you have Tyrus right behind him. Tyrus should be ticking over to level 2 here in about 15 seconds or less, I would imagine. Riku Meza, Hero of the Mowgli, they're fighting over the backs right now. Tyrus getting lit up, the benediction is there. Laners have not dropped down yet. Vox starting to move. Tyrus dropping low. You're in a bad place, friend. Tyrus is down. First blood to Dynasty. Now Raph dropping low as well. Bad mojo. Where's the good mojo? There's no such thing. They're all bad. This is PT Lamb. He's here with the Achilles shot. The twirling silver. They've taken the second kill. Volifar now on the run. Got the Vanguard from his buddy, and he's out of there.
Yeah, this was a smart pickup from Riku Meza here on the boots. It worked out so well for them. Scarf came in looking to steal away that Treant. It did go over to Riku Meza, so that gave him the additional health regeneration and energy regeneration. He boots past Raph here on this Arden and found a empowered Bad Mojo onto Tyra's. Huge burst of damage. They were able to swing the fight their way and find 2 kills just 2 minutes into the game, so definitely showing some signs of life here for the Dynasty Gaming side here. PT Lamb and Kvalifar just kind of trading some farm back and forth here in the lane, though.
Just trading back and forth. You know, Denominate, I'm looking at Mowgli's build. He did not pick up the boots early on here, and we've seen a lot of Graces doing that. Not like they actually need it, but it allows them to do some aggressive things early. Do you think it's because they do like that 3-man rotation where he feels he doesn't need the boots to make those, well, you know, those outplays that Graces do by themselves sometimes?
Absolutely. It definitely comes down to the 3-man rotation. You don't quite need the speed for safety as much when you are with your entire team. Obviously, you want to be the one taking damage so that PT Lamb can use that early aggression out of Ringo, so that Riku Meza can get some good bad mojos down. So it makes a lot of sense just to be tanky, just to try to frontline some of that damage. And, you know, if it would have been a single rotation for, you know, Grace trying to just steal away some backs, the boots make more sense. But again, that's just not Dynasty's playstyle. They want to push that aggression early. And, you know, PT Lamb, a little bit of an edge here over Kvalifar. Kvalifar actually does miss 2 minions there as the wave gets forced up. So we're going to keep the edge for PT Lamb a little bit here.
And PT Lamb, you know, we go back a year ago in competitive Vainglory. PT Lamb was one of the big Ringo players, so I'm sure he's only gotten more experience as time has gone on, and it's nice to see the Ringo coming out here. You mentioned during the draft, we were sitting here just kind of talking amongst ourselves about how we thought these picks would play out, that you thought Ringo should do pretty good into the box.
In the early game, definitely. And into the late game, if he's able to find a clear pickoff onto Vox, he should out-trade Vox as far as just 1v1 dueling damage. That's how Ringo is. He has the natural moves, or natural move speed and attack speed in his twirling silver. So 9 times out of 10, you know, the sustain of Vox isn't going to be able to deal with the raw damage of Ringo. This is a team game, though. This isn't going to be about dueling. This is going to be about Raph protecting Kvalifar, letting Kvalifar get that breaking point and scale up in the fights. Whereas we'll likely see PT Lamb go with like a Sorrow Blade, you know, a Sorrow Blade, a Tension Bow, maybe into a Tornado Trigger or a breaking point, but it's a more expensive build. It's going to take him longer to get there. So Kvalifar should come online pretty evenly with PT Lamb. But, you know, again, Tyra's on this Scarf has had such huge performances, and the outranging that he has over Riku Meza as this game goes on, I think the aggression of the Baptiste is going to have to be reined back a little bit, and they're going to have to find a good Ordained to get a pick.
A good Ordained probably going to be necessary. The question is, will there be reflex blocks at that time? Riku Meza has Shatter Glass. He gets hit with a Spitfire. A big amount of damage. Holy Nova connecting onto Raph. Ordained down onto Kvalifar. Dynasty Gaming poking, looking for the edge, looking for the weakness in the armor of SK as SK stay as a unit. Spitfire's just coming down that brush, that right mustache brush there. And Kvalifar, he's just like, okay guys, I'm just farming. Like, if there's an opportunity, that's great, but nothing really coming of it.
Yeah, and when you're in the lane, when both teams are in the lane, if you're going to trade out damage, you don't want it to be onto Kvalifar. If you're just going to trade some poke, you want to get that damage down onto either Scarf or Arden, preferably Scarf. Just because Kvalifar is sitting there in the lane, has his Poison Shiv, and is healing up the entire time that he's sitting there clearing wave, so the poke's not quite as effective on him. This is gonna have to be Dynasty Gaming play aggressively. They have to use this Ringo to their advantage. If it gets to the late game, I see SK really just starting to take over the fights incredibly quickly. Obviously, again, the breaking point on Kvalifar will be ramping up, as well as Tyra's will be building up those broken myth stacks, and there's that poke exchange.
Yeah, Riku Meza getting lit up, man. Spitfire, just the tail edge of that Spitfire connecting Riku Meza dropping so incredibly low. You said it before, it's the range disadvantage for Batiste, making it hard for him to get on target to apply damage. A Shatter Glass on the Batiste early on is nothing to laugh at. He's just not applying the damage as he wants to. Mowgli standing his ground for his team, front laning for the turret and for PT Lamb, but how much longer can he do so?
It's going to be a downhill battle for this Batiste. Batiste has to build up the Reap Soul Shards before he's really able to take out anything in a fight. But Dynasty looking aggressive here, trying to get some damage down on the turret, but SKs are rotating up now to force them off.
Kvalifar missed the last hit. I just want to point that out. I tease you, Kvalifar. He's having a good time. He gets the big lane minion there. No harm, no foul. A lot of flares coming out from Raph, just making sure they control the vision game. I like it. I like to see that full inventory of flares every single time. We have Gauntlet available. Wait for it's ready to go. They got Dragon's Breath. Are SK looking to fight or just farm? Because you said they scale.
They definitely scale. And again, as Tyra's gets... Ooh, hold on. Mowgli looking like he might be getting low here.
Man, he's looking like a Batiste, just getting lit up, so incredibly squishy. Grace getting low, PT Lamb dropping low. This doesn't look real good for Dynasty. I gotta say, the turret's falling low as well. Riku Meza looking for the Ordained, Bad Mojo connects. He's looking for a target to catch. This turret is just like one, maybe a Spitfire and a Goop combo, or a couple attacks at a Kvalifar from going down. Mowgli went back to the base, alright? So he buys a couple items, he's making his way back out, but this is dropping very low. This is going to be sketchy timing. Are they going to fight Denominate? Spitfire comes through. They didn't even need to Goop combo. Turret's down. Ordained on to Kvalifar. Bad Mojo. Mowgli with a benediction in here. PT Lamb winds up for the Hellfire Brew. Oh, it's so devastating in the weapon, Hellfire Brew. Kvalifar's going to burn down a little bit. Bad Mojo's over the wall. Dynasty Gaming trying to round up SK here. Ordained down onto Raph. They find the stun up. Holy Nova gonna actually be blocked up. Can he get down? Oh no, that's the disaster of the gauntlet. Oh, wishes he could have that one back.
Yeah, that's gonna be now a 110-second cooldown for that gauntlet as we go on through this game, and that's gonna be Dynasty taking this opportunity to push down a gold mine. Again, as this game goes on, we have to see the aggression out of Dynasty. That's really where they win out here. It is a little difficult for the Batiste. Obviously, we talked about the Scarf just outranging him. That does make it a little more difficult for him to build up those soul shards and really get that burst damage down. But that's what Batiste is better at than Scarf. Just the bad mojos, they have that AoE effect that it can just be so devastating, especially once you start hitting that huge damage spike, which, you know, now that we have the clockwork, we will start to see a bit more damage come out here on from this Batiste. But I mean, you know, we almost have the Broken Myth now complete for Tyra's, and that's where, you know, these fights for Dynasty are going to have to be, okay, you have to engage or you're going to lose this fight.
Tyrus just man-moding, flexing on Dynasty. He's like, yo, I don't care, 2v1, let's go. I am the Scarf, the Golden Dragon. Mowgli benediction in here. Bad Mojo's consistently coming out of Riku Meza. He's looking to connect, looking to get that splash damage like he talked about, something that could turn the fight in their favor. Nothing quite yet. PT Lamb back to the base, he'll heal up. He grabs a weapon infusion in case they can get on target. Pop that weapon infusion and go to town. Kvalifar hit with Bad Mojo. Ordained on Kval, he's stunned up. Mowgli. I said Holy Nova, but they're gonna block off the Fearsome Shade. Actually clips Tyrus, Raph dropping low, throws the Fountain. Kvalifar standing his ground, wait for it, comes out. Dragon's Breath, they're getting baited in here. PT Lamb needs to reposition, he's gonna stand in his ground. Tyrus trading, he's gonna get choked down by the Ringo here. They've lost 2, they lost 3. Dynasty Gaming turned all the way up.
Dynasty Gaming turning that fight around very quickly. Again, they're at a point in the game where they just have to be aggressive. They just have to force a fight when they're that far away from the turret. And that's what we've seen there, is a huge fight that was looking good for the side of SK, and Dynasty was able to turn it around. That is now the second turret going over to Dynasty, as well as the entire jungle of SK making its way into Riku Meza's pocket. And this is what we need to see here out of Dynasty, and they picked such a good fight. They forced Kvalifar down low, and then just went in heavily and engaged. Echo now complete for Grace. This is going to provide so much more sustainability for the side of Dynasty.
Dynasty. It feels like they're on the back foot, but they're not. It's just so confusing to me that, like, SK applying this pressure, SK finding what seems to be an engagement, and then boom, just going back the other way.
Well, PT Lamb has gone an incredibly aggressive build on this Ringo. Sorrow Blade, double monocle, relying on just the twirling silver for his basic attack speed. It's going to be interesting to see what he goes as his last item. He has a couple options. He could go with the breaking point since it's going to scale up so quickly with the monocles and Sorrow Blade, or he could go into a tornado trigger and just look for the sheer damage. Get 100% crit ratio.
Get it.
It's going to be very exciting to see PT Lamb as this game progresses. He has so much single target damage, and Kvalifar only has a tier 1 armor right now. So if PT Lamb is allowed to get onto Kvalifar, that's what I was talking about earlier with the whole Ringo should win that duel every time. With this build, Ringo should really easily win that duel every single time.
And, okay, so he's picked up a little Piers. I was gonna ask you before you picked that up, like, what your preference was for him to finish out his items, but...
He could go a bone saw, he could go a tension bow, and he could go a breaking point. There are options. He's definitely leaning towards either the bone saw or the tension bow now. I personally like what build he has, going the bone saw just for additional attack speed. We gotta fight right now.
Cable standing his ground. Fearsome Shade, they're on the run, they're so scared! The gauntlet does peel them off this fight. Dynasty Gaming standing their ground, they're getting healing. Rikumez with a divine intervention still alive. I'm trying to stutter step, he's doing a good job. The Ordained does find a stun right on the edge of the raft. Goop coming down from Tyrus, zoning them out. The Spitfires are saying, danger, danger, Dynasty. And Dynasty are going to heed their warning.
Both teams incredibly low, forced to exit that fight. Nobody drops. Kvalifar actually lives with just a sliver of health thanks to a beautiful Vanguard out of Raph. We are now up 6-0 for the side of Dynasty with about a 4,000 gold lead. So really looking, again, you know, they have to push this aggression. They have to win while they have the opportunity. If Liz and Kvalifar are allowed to get to full build, it's going to start sliding over to the side of Dynasty Gaming. So they're doing a great job. Grace being really aggressive with the engages. PT Lamb using the boots and the twirling silver to, really create a gap close for himself. He doesn't have any actual movement abilities besides that increased attack. And now it looks like SK may be looking to find something, and that something is the farm out of the Dynasty Gaming jungle. Wow,
that was farm.
It's been a pretty intense game so far. PT Lamb, huge performance so far on this Ringo, a hero that we've really seen fall out of the meta just because he doesn't have those movement abilities. There's not any risk. There's no Lance here, there's no Catherine here. You don't have as much need to jump out of the way. The only exception being maybe the Gauntlet, but he is trading out damage so well with SK right now.
PT Lamb. This guy has always been one of my favorite laners. But I don't think I've ever got to meet the guy. I'm not sure that he's traveled to an event. We'll have to check later on that one as we have a fight breaking out. Mowgli on the front side first. Team Spitfire's connecting on the Rikumez with a fearsome shade. Peels them off. He gets a divine intervention out of Mowgli. Mowgli doing a good job to get his life. They lost Raph. PT Lamb, is he standing his ground? But Kvalfar's there. How about some breaking points? Kvalfar starting to melt them out, but the bad note is there. Double kill coming out. Rikumez burning to the dragon's breath. Tyrus, the god dragon, stands amongst the corpses on the Halcyon Fold.
Tyra's building up 9 broken myth stacks in that last fight, was really able to turn it around. The Ordained came out and killed Kvalifar, but there just wasn't enough damage yet out of Baptiste. Again, anytime that Baptiste and Scarf are in a 1v1 trade, it should be Scarf as long as he lands that initial Spitfire. And now PT Lamb was looking like he wanted the boots out and try to find Tyra's using the movement speed of the twirling silver to try to get out here. Not able to find it. Look at the damage he is doing right now. Sitting on 1,300 gold. He is getting close to completing his next tier 3 item. If it is the tension bow, he'll be able to complete it when he makes it to shop. If it's the bone saw, he may be a little ways away. I think 150 gold. We'll have to see what he does.
What would you build? What would you, if you could choose for him?
I like the Bonesaw. I like with the sheer amount of damage that you have. I think you have to go the Bonesaw. You have to get the additional attack speed because yes, the tension bow provides you some pierce and some burst up front, but these fights are getting pretty long. So if we're able to pierce the metal jacket that's going to come out of Kvalifar, that's going to make the trade so much easier for him than if he just has that one sheer burst of damage. And Mowgli making a very aggressive engage here again.
Mowgli, he's just breaking point stacks. Oliver throws the wait for it. This is going to be Riku Meza getting melted down. Divine Intervention keeps him alive for his second. PT Lamb, though. He takes Rap down in the dirt. Hellfire Brew, that's a bold Hellfire Brew. He's on the Tyrus. He's got the attack damage. He's taking Oliver down. Triple kills coming out here for PT Lamb. Mowgli basically ignored through the entire fight. We'll go ahead and clean up the lane minions. Dynasty taking that fight.
And Bonesaw is now complete for PT Lamb, so I like this itemization that he's gone, and we've seen it right there. The sheer amount of single target damage that this Ringo has with this build was able to clean up the end of a fight that was not looking in their favor. We had a great silence come out of Kvalifar, and it really made it difficult for Mowgli to save Riku Meza. Riku Meza drops early on in that fight, but PT Lamb cleans it up. Mowgli finds the last little bit of damage he needs to help PT Lamb, but just absolutely annihilated by PT Lamb. Sorrow Blade, Double Tyrant's Monocle, Bonesaw. Working into some defense next. It's going to be neat to see if he goes with the Journey boots before he goes into an Aegis. I do think that he could use those boots as an additional engage, since obviously landing damage onto an enemy hero will refresh that cooldown from 50 seconds all the way down to 12. So that would give him a lot of engage and escape potential.
I think that's such a good call. I would love to see it. You know PT Lamb's having a good time right now. Anytime your damage output is like this on your Ringo, oh my goodness. It's just like, can I get on target, team? Are you ready to fight? Because let's team fight. I'm ready to go. I'm going to spam some pings and let you know. Tyrant, Spitfire's coming through. Not quite connecting. Bad Mojos do, though. Riku Meza. He's just a bad mojo machine, isn't he? Constantly just chucking these out.
And actually we have an offensive, we have this jungle Baptiste who has gone with an Echo, and he actually sells his boots here to refresh the cooldown. It's going to cost him about 150 gold, but there's the Journey boots I was talking about for PT Lamb. That's going to give him a lot more freedom in these fights, so SK really has to play this careful. Going the Bonesaw has really made that item a lot more gold effective since Kvalifar has this tier 3 armor built. And I think if you're Dynasty Gaming here, you have to find a fight, and they're going for it.
Mind, body, and soul, I'm ready for the fight. The Fearsome Shade, Raph getting melted down. He's gonna cancel off the call with the Fearsome Shade, Riku Meza. He gets the Divine Intervention as well. What a play. Second Divine Intervention on the PT Lamb. PT Lamb's there. Mowgli jumping forward on the Kvalifar. Dragon's Breath, though. Riku Meza's burning down. Tyrus is a dragon, remember? They stun him up, they chop him down. Kvalifar, though, he's got a couple breaking point stacks of his own. Mowgli jumps in. Kvalifar's gonna look to kite him down. Oh my goodness, Kvalifar gets Mowgli? Oh, what a special little treat if we got to see that one-on-one. The Mowgli's gonna just be like, alright, bro, we used to be friends, remember, let me go.
Yeah, Kvalifar cleans up some of those minions in the wave, Poison Shiv taking effect and giving him some healing back. 2-for-2 trade, 13-7 for the side of Dynasty. Still, we were at a point in the game where it was 0-6, and we still have a 6-kill lead for the side of Dynasty. So SK showing some signs of life. Kvalifar particularly finding a lot of damage in that last fight, but we can't count out that Dragon's Breath out of Tyra's there. Sitting, I think when he started up that Dragon's Breath, he was sitting around 6 or 7 stacks. Just totally melted Riku Meza. PT Lamb came in and cleaned up with a lot of damage, but it wasn't enough. Again, Kvalifar ramps up in these fights, whereas PT Lamb has a little bit of ramp to his build with the Bonesaw. Obviously, the more stacks he gets, the more armor he's going to pierce. But Kvalifar ramps up with sheer damage, and that's what we've seen in that last fight. He comes out with just a sliver of health, and fortunately, with the way that fight went, nobody was able to take any objective control. And we now are going to be looking for this next fight. Kraken on the board, 20 minutes. Death timer is getting incredibly long. One more fight could spell disaster for either team.
That is just absolutely crazy. Dynasty. They really, while they felt like they're on the back foot, that it felt like SK were setting the pace. Dynasty continuously turned these fights around and appeared to come out on top. But even then, SK is still such a threatening beast. At this point, what's SK gonna do? They're on the Crystal Sentry, starting to apply a little damage. Flare's coming out. Mowgli's there, lets him know, hey, I know exactly what's you're gonna do here, but they can't defend the Crystal Sentry, which is the hard part. Mowgli, he's got vision over SK, but nobody else was there to respond. Now, Dynasty as 3, moving forward. Spitfire hits Riku Meza right there. BM starting to stack up for Tyrus. That's what you said was so good for them last time. Spitfire is coming through once again. Can he catch them? Fight and a choke point. No, they're not going to get baited into that. In fact, Dynasty are just going to move down the lane, forcing SK to rotate around the bottom side of the Kraken. Let's see what's going to happen here. More Spitfires coming out. Raph holding that gauntlet. The golden gauntlet. I'm ready to see it, Raph. I'm ready to see it just get cut loose. Raph, he's been very utility focused on his items. We've seen a few Echo gauntlets come out. Hold that thought. Arden, what are you going to do? You're going to move in there? Mowgli, he's jumped in with the Benediction. The Holy Nova's not going to connect there. Fearsome Shade did, but they immediately turn it right back around. The Atlas Pauldron out onto Vox, doing some pretty good work, but he Sonic Zooms around Ordain onto Raph. PT Lamb trying to stand his ground, trying to get on target. Kvalifar, another Sonic Zoom. Couple more breaking points, Dax. Divine Intervention out onto PT Lamb, and I think that's a safe call for Dynasty. Just get out of there.
Well, especially since Dynasty burned literally all of their activatables as well as both Divine Interventions, and Raph still has that fountain sitting in his pocket, so that would have been a big opportunity. One thing I do want to point out in that last fight that did go very well for the side of Dynasty was Riku Meza throwing out that Fearsome Shade was actually able to interrupt the gauntlet out of Raph, so just excellent timing there. If that gauntlet came down, that could have been a fight going over to SK very quickly.
That's a really good call there. There are so many abilities coming out with a double echo here. Trying to keep track of them in real time is just absolutely insane. These players making it happen though. Spitfire, the group's down. PT Lamb smacks Tyrus. He's like, yo, Dragon, you want to fight? Okay. I'm here to melt your armor down. My name is PT Lamb, and this is my Ringo. Dynasty moving forward. They have Raph down towards the jungle. I don't know. They felt like they could have kind of cut them off there, but they're not going to do that. They move back down towards the jungle. They clear out some scout traps. Raph knows exactly what's going on. I don't think Dynasty looked to start up Kraken, but maybe they just need to do some purchasing and try to find a better angle.
PT Lamb does now have the Aegis complete, so Scarf is going to be a little less of a threat, as well as Riku Meza has it complete. I'm actually a little interested that Mowgli...
Hellfire
here we go.
Looks like they said go! They said go! The Gauntlet's down the Fearsome Shade! They're gonna take down Raph! They just melt right through him! It doesn't matter about Dragon's Breath! The second Fearsome Shade! Tyrus into the wall! It's like they have a lance or something! He's against the Tyrus melting down! And Dynasty take 2, lose none! This should be their Kraken, and this should be their push.
Dynasty is playing this so well. They're finding damage where they need to. You know, the gauntlet came out of Raph. It was a really good gauntlet. It was just placed just right. But again, the single target damage coming out of PT Lamb, they just say, okay, if you're going to engage right now, we're just going to blow you up. And they take Raph out of the fight immediately. And that's going to be a Kraken now going on over to Dynasty. This Ringo build has so much objective damage that Dynasty, if they're able to pick up even just one kill here, if they find a kill on either Tyraz or Kvalifar, they could potentially just push 3 turrets with this Kraken. Riku Meza actually rotating down, looking to refresh his infusion. Dynasty Gaming, again, one fight here, they find one kill, and they can very likely end the game. SK really has to find an ace here to really get anything done, or at least find PT Lamb and Riku Meza. Hellfire Brew's coming out.
Yeah, it's going to be blocked off. Nice block there. I think the Vanguard even came out of Raph as well. Now SK on the back foot. Mowgli jumps in one more time. Dynasty probably pull off this, and yeah, it looks like the Kraken dropping low. They're going to just get back into the jungle. They'll take the Crystal Sentry out. Pretty crazy Crystal Sentry still alive 25 minutes in.
Yeah, Crystal Sentry's on both sides actually still alive. That is actually the first life of the SK Sentry that is now gone. 25 minutes into this game, 22 kills on the board. Old lead becoming pretty non-existent here. You have about 4,000 on the side of Dynasty, but as builds get maxed out, that gold is not going to equate to really much of anything, so Riku Meza working towards the Broken Myth now, going to provide a lot of damage, but we have an engagement here out of Dynasty.
They ordained the Fearsome Shade coming out. That he caught too, actually. That gauntlet. a little questionable, Raph. We can talk about that one later. He hangs out inside as long as possible, but will be forced back. Now Dynasty appear to have a bit of an advantage, unless I'm missing something here at the Nominee. They're just kind of wrangling up SK, forcing them back into their base. They'll take their jungle one more time. They're just choking them out now.
Yeah, and they need to start funneling the gold onto this Scarf. I actually don't know why Kvalifard, it just cleared out that wave. But we'll talk about that later, because now we have a fight breaking out again.
Throwing Silver, the Ordained is out, the Fearsome Shade. They just ran it right into the turret. Crystal Sentry's gonna make his way out now. It's not like it's a huge deal. Divine Intervention coming out, keeping P2M in fighting shape. The Ordained is just consistently out of reach as every time the Bad Mojo, Mowgli in with the Benediction, giving the Holy Shield to his team. He's gonna miss on the Holy Nova. Raph got in there with the Atlas Pauldron, but not hitting PT Lamb. PT Lamb's on to Kvalifar. PT Lamb's got the damage, but the Dragon's Breath, they've turned it around. Tyrus, can Tyrus do it? He's got the majority of the damage that they need. PT Lamb tries to stand his ground. PT Lamb is down, and to nominate, SK have flipped the script on this game.
They have indeed. Kraken is not yet on the board, but it will be very shortly, so that's really a great fight for SK there. As I was touching base, though, we really don't want to see Kvalifar cleaning out as much farm because we want to get Tyros to a point that he has a tier 3 armor, that he has tier 3 boots, specifically those Halcyon Chargers, helping him with his energy regeneration, helping him with his cooldown speeds will be absolutely huge for Scarf. So Kvalifar is full build, sitting with almost 4,000 gold in his pocket. He doesn't need any more gold. He literally has enough gold to infuse for the rest of this game. So we really need Tyras to get to that same point where he can be infused at full build, and that's where Scarf is going to have the most benefit in these fights. This Kraken is getting taken low, and Dynasty is just now making it out, and just like that, we now have a counter push coming out of SK. They will march down the lane with this Kraken, and Scarf is so good at fighting alongside a Kraken. Level 12 infusion, Halcyon Chargers complete. This is SK's opportunity to close out game number 2.
Hashtag run SKG if you got any SK fans in chat. I know we got a couple hanging out here. Dynasty also representing as well. Can Dynasty defend and find the win here? Send us to game 3. Can SK close out? Dynasty trying to make the play. Mowgli's in. The gauntlet's down. They have the Ordained Mowgli. He's going to go ahead and hit him without Holy Nova. Tyrus forced back. Tyrus still quite healthy. Kraken marching forward to nominate. I don't know what the play is. Mowgli's back in this. This feels like a desperate attempt from Dynasty. In fact, Fearsome Shade blocked off. Tyrus, he's burning him down with the Dragon's Breath. 9 broken myth stacks and get wrecked, Dynasty. SK running all over. Wow.
Again, and the later this game goes, the more clear it is that SK can win these fights. Scarf really having that level 12 infusion and boots was able to turn that fight around quickly. Mowgli went in a little too far, gave a few too many broken myth stacks over to Scarf. And that is game number 2 now, going over to SK, taking a clean sweep over the side of Dynasty Gaming.
You know, these teams do match up. When they both come out on a good day, they match up pretty evenly. SK had the edge here, and man, that is exciting stuff to see SK elevating their level of play at the end of the season as we start thinking about the Unified Live Championship. SK was one of the teams in spring that was able to take a game off of Cloud9, lose the series, but they showed they had potential, and if they're continuing to get